Okay.
Maxine, are you wanting us to take our cameras off while each of the speakers are speaking, or?
No, I actually think it looks quite nice to have the gallery effect. It actually gives that sense of community. So if you're comfortable with it, I think it's a really nice thing to do, yeah.
Cool.
All right, so first of all, Aoife, just giving you the heads up that I am sending this to our LinkedIn. Hopefully that's preparing to go live right now. Okay, so that's all working.
Thank you, all good.
No worries. And I will give it one more minute. Okay, I am going to start the webinar. So we'll prepare ourselves. Hey everyone, coming in now, that's good to see. And I'll just give everyone a few minutes to get in, and then I'll start my spiel to welcome everyone to the day. Because in true Spark Festival style, we're starting 1 minute early, otherwise known as just on time. All right, well, welcome to Meet the People of Techcentral. Before I get started, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm hosting this event from the lands of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands you all tune in from today, and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people participating in this event. I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and celebrate the diversity of Aboriginal people and their ongoing cultures and connections to the lands and waters of Australia. And particularly today, even though this event is online, it's very much about place. So more than ever, I'd like to recognise the knowledge and connection which is embedded forever within the Aboriginal custodianship of country. Hi. I'm Maxine Sherrin, Program Director of Spark Festival, which is Australia's largest event for startups, innovators, hustlers, hackers, movers and shakers. Spark's been going on for the past 2 weeks, and I kind of hope you're not just finding out about it now because, well, this is actually the last day. So to mark the occasion, we're here to look towards what's coming up next and meet the people of Techcentral, which is Australia's emerging innovation engine. And today really is about the people who already call Techcentral home, some more recently and some with history in the district that goes back for many decades. But first of all, what exactly is Techcentral? Well, if you've been anywhere near Central Station in Sydney any time in the past year or so, you'll no doubt have seen some of the massive infrastructure projects that are going on. You probably heard about Atlassian building a 40-storey timber skyscraper down that way, which will be the tallest commercial hybrid timber building in the world, no less, and it's a very spectacular looking building. Perhaps you saw the launch a few months back of the Quantum Terminal, home for quantum tech in the beautiful old Central Station terminal building. And then there's a new scale-up hub that's being built in the area around Central Station as well. However, wonderful and much needed as these developments may be, a successful tech community is not something to just transplant. It's something that will also emerge from the existing community. And it's also something that needs to connect into the wider tech ecosystem that exists all across Sydney, all of New South Wales, all of Australia, and obviously globally as well. So really, Techcentral is already here. Stretching from Surry Hills to Camperdown, it's a place where world-class universities, ambitious startups, VCs, high-tech giants, museums and centres of arts and culture, as well as the community, have already been collaborating to solve problems, socialise and, dare I say, spark world-changing ideas. And today, Spark Festival has gathered some of them together to give you a sneak peek ahead of the launch of Techcentral into the diverse organisations who already call this exciting place home. Everyone on the program today will have just 3 minutes in true startup style to pitch themselves and their organisation and to help you get an idea of what Techcentral is already all about. Now, for an event that's all about ambition, I don't think there's a better place to start than one of Techcentral's homegrown unicorns. So our first speaker is Chris Lowe, who has the awesome job title of Head of Vibe at Canva. After Chris, we'll have Bree from Airtree. So take it away, Chris.
Thanks so much for having me today. As you know, Canva has grown up in Surry Hills from a startup that I joined as 50 people to now 2,000 people globally. And every day is a very exciting day where we had 180,000 applications to join Canva last year, which I just found out before I joined this call, which is just kind of gives you a sense of the excitement that's around. And we are growing at an incredible rate, and it's a very exciting place to be. But I'm also really excited about the opportunity we have at Techcentral. I think, like, quite honestly, so many tech hubs around the world have made mistakes. They've created a divide between the tech community and everyone else. And I'm really excited to see that we have an opportunity to do things much better. I think we can create a place that's truly for our entire community, like the kind of place that we thrive together. And maybe I'm a little bit of a dreamer, but I would love to truly see Canva achieve its 2-step plan to build the most valuable company in the world and do the most good we can. We're already doing this in so many ways, but let's start together at like our office front door. Let's open up to the community in ways that have never been achieved before. And I think that right now is a really exciting time to really dive into that, to really throw ourselves into that. COVID has taught us something, that people can be really effective, can make a great impact in their work lives from a variety of locations. And this means for campuses that the edges, the kind of barriers between work and not work are softer. And that's really exciting for a workplace design. That's really exciting for a community of tech companies and community groups and institutions like universities that can create pipelines that will rapidly charge the growth, the future growth of the tech industry in Sydney. So yeah, I'm just really excited, and I really hope that Techcentral can become a true community space where we can all grow and thrive together.
Thanks so much, Chris. That's a really beautiful and unique message and a really great way to start. And I neglected to point out that we're doing this a little bit geographically as well. And so we're working our way through Surry Hills to start with. Next up, we have Bree Fidele from Airtree. And after Bree, we'll have Matthew. Take it away, Bree.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me. I'm Bree, I'm the Communications Manager at Airtree. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Airtree, Airtree is a venture capital fund, and our mission is to back the most ambitious and unrelenting Australian and Kiwi founders who are building startups that are going to positively change the trajectory of society. And we really want to be right by a founder's side right from the start. So we often invest pre-product and pre-revenue so we can be there when a company's DNA is like just starting to take shape. In terms of what we're working on at the moment, it's business as usual, but that's always really exciting for us. And what that kind of looks like is we're always meeting with founders, backing ones we believe in, and then supporting them throughout their journey. And for Airtree, I think we've never been in a better position than now to do just that. Since June, which was when I joined, the team has doubled in size, which means we have like so much more firepower to support founders and their teams throughout the journey. We also just kicked off our Explorer program yesterday, and that's to really boost the angel investing ecosystem in Australia and also make sure that more diverse and underrepresented groups can invest in startups. And we're actually just really looking forward to being able to host physical events back in the office soon. If anyone's looking for a space, feel free to get in touch. We would love to host you. As Maxine mentioned, we're located in Surry Hills. So we're down the bottom of Devonshire Street, close to Central Station. And we really love how like close this is to public transport. You might hear the light rail go through behind me. And then also just like Prince Alfred Pool. And for me personally, the proximity to Humble Bakery and City Edge is a very big selling point. Being part of Techcentral precinct for us is really valuable, I'd say, in two key ways. So we have so many of our portfolio companies that are just like a stone's throw away from us. So Open is across the road, Zumo is down the road, Canva's around the corner, Eucalyptus is across the other side. And I think given the year or over a year that we've just had where we haven't been able to have that physical connection, where we are located makes that really easy for us. And we're just really excited to kind of get back in there and meet up and connect with the community again. The second thing is it's a really big draw card for talent, and that's really important for both Airtree and our portfolio companies. So as I mentioned before, our team has doubled in size recently, and we've had people relocate from Seattle, New Zealand and Nairobi back to Sydney just because they see the potential in the local tech ecosystem and really want to be a part of that. The second is we're also seeing the precinct create thousands of really high quality jobs for the local community. And we just recently launched a new jobs board, and I had a quick look on there, and there's about 300 live jobs within Airtree's portfolio, just like in walking distance from where we are at the moment. So there's a huge opportunity to be had. We're really big supporters of this initiative, and we're really looking forward to Sydney's innovation and technology community growing from here. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much, Bree. Another beautiful vision. Next up, our final one from Surry Hills is Matthew Bertrand from another startup called Like Family. And then after Matthew, we'll have Biljana.
Bonjour, everyone. My name is Matt from Like Family, and I'm the co-founder. At the age of 26 years old, I became the primary care for both my parents after both of them suffered sudden, unexpected viruses and illnesses. My mom suffered a brain virus, and for anyone who's ever cared for a loved one, becoming a primary carer for two adults is quite isolating and lonely. And the biggest problem for us wasn't actually finding medical support for my parents or allied health. The biggest problem for us was finding a way for them to engage in the community, make friends, and just have some fun. Without me, they were isolated. As a primary carer, I was getting depressed. And so we decided to do something about it. And it wasn't until one of our friends, and I'm not making this up, her name is Destiny. Destiny came to the rescue. She was a friend of ours who got along with my parents like a house on fire. She didn't have any qualifications in disability, but they got along so well that she got my dad, stubborn dad, to do his exercises, participate in the community, and my parents always had a smile on their face when they were out with Destiny. And I think social isolation recently during lockdowns has shown all of us what people with disabilities, people with illnesses, injuries, and older Australians are going through. Social isolation is part of their lives. So what we did is we created an MVP product out of WordPress, my wife and I, to solve this problem, to match people like Destiny who are looking for casual, fun, rewarding, flexible work, people like who are on this call, and we match people who have disabilities or are aging or have illnesses and just want to participate in fun, meaningful activities. And so the WordPress website we created out of Jenna's parents' house turned into the 4th fastest growing tech startup in Australia, according to Deloitte, in 2019. So within 3 years, we were literally pinching ourselves because we had created something that we unexpectedly, it just helped so many people. And today we're looking for, we're looking to grow the business nationally across Australia. And, Techcentral has been our home since we've started. And it's just such an amazing place. Like Bree mentioned, we are right next to Prince Alfred Park, and we are next to public transportation. But being here in this space means that you're surrounded, and you know the saying, you're only as good as the people you surround yourselves with. So even though we're a human service platform, a human service business, we're using technology to enhance the matchmaking and also enhance people's lives. So the social impact is huge, and we use the tech to help us achieve more and more social impact across Australia and eventually globally. So it's an extremely exciting place to work. I can't wait for lunch. I've got some teammates in the office. We're going to go out, grab a beautiful lunch around Redfern and some coffee, and then potentially meet some other tech founders while we're doing that. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Matt. I'm really loving everyone's unique perspective on this, and I do really love the Like family story. Next up, we've got Biljana Reykjavik from Sydney Quantum Academy, and then after Biljana, we've got Tashi.
Yes, hi everyone, I'm Biljana, and I lead external engagement at Sydney Quantum Academy. The SQA is a unique new initiative in Australia. It's a partnership between 4 of Australia's leading universities, Macquarie, UNSW, University of Sydney and UTS. We are proudly funded by the New South Wales government and also our partner universities. We're currently located at the Sydney Knowledge Hub at the University of Sydney, but might soon be moving into the new quantum terminal at Central Station. A bit about us. We were formed 2 years ago to really help build Australia's future quantum economy. There is a recognition that quantum tech, of which quantum computing, quantum communications, and quantum sensing form part, is an emerging technology that is rapidly moving from academic research into industry. And Sydney is home to one of the largest concentrations of quantum scientists in the world. And so our role is to connect our quantum scientists with industry and government, and together explore and understand future implications and applications of quantum tech, and to develop a diverse talent and a globally recognized quantum tech ecosystem in Australia. And so we do that through 3 core pillars, really: education, engagement, and entrepreneurship. A large chunk of our funding goes to PhD scholarships. We have established our Quantum PhD Experience Program, which is the first of its kind in Australia, where students, in addition to their regular PhD work, do coursework across any of the 4 universities. What this does is it allows them to study subjects outside of the area of expertise and also network with each other and form this collaborative bond early on in their careers. And we've attracted absolutely fantastic domestic and international talent. On the undergraduate side, last year, UNSW became the first university in the world to offer a Bachelor's of Engineering degree in quantum engineering. And being able to do all this would not be possible without this really deep senior expertise on the ground here. On the engagement side, we are collaborating with industry to help them become aware of quantum tech and help them bring the right people to the party, really, as businesses in Australia begin to explore quantum tech use cases and implement them within their organization. The importance of interdisciplinary teams cannot be stressed enough. And so we connect this quantum expertise with industry needs. And because quantum tech will eventually impact everyone, we're also working on our strategy for a broader community outreach and engagement. And then finally, on the entrepreneurship side, if you look at some of the top quantum startups out there today, you'll see the likes of like Quantum and Xanadu in the US, they have Australian educated founders. And then domestically, you have Q-Control, Quantum Brilliance, and Quintessence Labs, for example, and all three have secured significant amount of funding lately. And so we want to help unearth and support more of these quantum tech entrepreneurs. To doing that, we liaise with universities, government, and VC firms to see how collectively we can provide the right kind of support at the right time to ensure entrepreneurs can turn this research into a meaningful product offering and build these companies that are going to create jobs for the community here and for Techcentral in particular. So it's a really exciting time for both for us at the SQA and also very encouraging to see all the various stakeholders with the support from the New South Wales government really come together to build Techcentral into a leading innovation and tech powerhouse. And so for you who want to get in touch with us, you can either get on our mailing list at sydneyquantum.org or you can DM me directly on LinkedIn. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thanks, Biliana. And that's really exciting to hear about the community outreach aspect of your work, because I'm definitely still in that category where I could not explain what quantum computing is to someone.
So are we all.
I'll be at your first event. Okay, next up we have Tashi Dorji, who's the head of Flex Space at JLL. And then after Tashi, we'll have Lisa from MAAS.
Thanks, Maxine. Before I start, there's actually a really good YouTube video if you search how to describe quantum computing to a 6-year-old or something. That really helped me a few months ago when I really wanted to be able to explain it to people, but it's really great. And also actually, Chris and I spoke at a conference a few months back, and since then I've been trying to change my title to Head of Vibe. So the request has gone in, but it just hasn't come through yet. But hi everyone, my name's Tashi. I'm the head of Flex over at JLL for Australia and New Zealand. JLL is a global property services firm. And what my role really does right now is we help investors and commercial real estate landlords, retail landlords, look into, co-working spaces, flex spaces. What does it look and feel like if they try and do it themselves or partner with operators to put it inside their assets? And as a lot of people can tell, in the new hybrid style of worlds that we live in, a lot of these assets and buildings are starting to put products like that in to bring people back into the office, to have some cool stuff in there. The war in talent is growing. So earning the commute of your employees is big. And, there's this thing going around called the Great Resignation, which we don't need to go into. So anything that you can kind of get people to stick with your company, and also from a landlord's perspective, your asset as a tenant, it is really big right now. How that ties into Techcentral, we're very fortunate that our Flex team are the key partner, the operating partner to design, build and operate the quantum terminal. We feel not only lucky, but very well placed to do this because of the experts that we've brought on board. Also, myself, Maxine and I go way back prior to JLL and a few of the stints that I've done. I ran my own startup and my own co-working company for about 4 or 5 years. So completely appreciate how hard it is as a founder. There was a saying I always used to run around and say that when people asked how it was going, I'd say, oh, it's great. I sleep like a baby. I wake up in the middle of the night crying every now and then. So it's definitely tough. But the quantum terminal, just to give you a bit more about that, and happy to connect over LinkedIn thereafter, it's focused around tech startups, quantum computing startups. Our focus as a team, I can guarantee you, one of our core KPIs and things that we want to give back is the community. This is done in 2 ways. One, the design of the space itself is very much geared that way. So just to throw some numbers, just some round ones, we've got about 3 floors, each equally sized. We've got a whole floor dedicated to private multi-purpose event space and lounge areas for people to collaborate and connect. So that's a lot of space. That's about 1,000 square meters. So we're really trying to give back to the community so that not only if you're a resident there, you can come and hang out, see lots of cool stuff. And I'm sure we'll be hosting a lot of really great events there, both for the quantum community, but also the tech and the startup community. And also, we've got really great staff there. So I'm sure you'll all meet Dakota very soon. She's our center manager and also our community manager, the rest of the team there. We're very much geared to, instead of trying to say what we're geared to do, how cool would it be if, in a year or two's time, we had 2 people meet within the quantum terminal and start their own quantum business. I think that would be an incredible success story. And we've heard lots of those within a lot of the different startup hubs and ecosystems within Australia. So that's just a little bit about us, and happy to connect. The space should be up and running very shortly. So very, very excited to host the first, launch event and push it out to the community. So that's just a bit from me, Maxine.
Thanks, Tashi. That's awesome. And yeah, love that vision, because it is ultimately all about people getting together in spaces, and that is where the magic will happen. And, fingers crossed, there's going to be a lot of that in 2022. Next up, we have Lisa Havillah, who's the CEO of MAS, the place formerly known as the Powerhouse Museum. I'll just put that out there.
Currently known.
Right, I'm sorry, I always get confused. So you just clarify that for me. Thank you, Lisa. And then after Lisa, we'll have Murray. Thanks, Lisa.
Okay, hi everyone. It's so great to hear what everyone is doing in the local community. From my perspective, you can't have really great technology places without, really great arts and culture. So that's where the Powerhouse Museum comes in. We are currently, just last year, it was announced that the New South Wales government was going to invest 500 million into the renewal of the Powerhouse in Ultimo and the creation of a creative industries precinct. So that will include, a great new museum, but it will also embed both subsidised and commercial spaces for the creative industries. So that's everything from fashion designers to filmmakers to designers, furniture makers. So really creating a very active precinct where we can support a whole ecology of makers and creators. And I'm really interested to see how us supporting this creative industries precinct can really embed into a broader technology precinct, because for us, what's really interesting is that intersection between creativity and technology, and that's really goes to the heart of who we are as a museum. So some of the other things that we're looking at in terms of the creation of the precinct is really setting up the museum to be a museum that is open as much in the nighttime as it is in the daytime. So we really care about contributing to that nighttime economy. We want everyone to have, great places and experiences to have, after you finish work. And we're really working on that. And we've got a whole program coming up over the next 12 months, which is a Culture Up Late program, which is really working with government to bring people back into the city and into this part of the city. The delivery of our program, we're just about to go out with a national design competition. So we'll be working on the design of the precinct over the next 12 months to 2 years. And we're looking at completing and delivering the project in 2026. So really looking at how the museum can integrate into the goods line, connect back into the city, and be a very active contributor to all of the innovation that is happening around us. One of the other interesting things when you think about our museum is that we actually have a very long history. We're 140 years old. We have a very long history of collecting Australian innovation. So we're not only interested in connecting this precinct with arts and culture, but we're also very interested in collecting, documenting, and telling the great stories of innovation that's happening all around this part of the city. So very interested to connect and work out how we tell those stories to our communities. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Lisa. It's such an important part. I think you guys probably are the senior members of Techcentral. Would that be right? With that number of years you've been in the area?
We've been in Ultimo not for 140 years, but for at least 80 years. So yeah, we are very senior. Not senior in approach, though.
Exactly. None of us are. Next up, we have Murray Herbst, who's the Director of Entrepreneurship at UTS Startups, or UTS really. And after Murray, we'll have Lynn from Sydney School of Entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Maxine. Speaking of senior in my approach, it's my birthday today and I'm feeling quite old. So thanks. I'm Murray Herbst and I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do at UTS in terms of the startup capacity of UTS in particular. I won't try and talk about all of UTS. Thank you for the happy birthdays. UTS has the largest community of student launch startups in Australia. We call this community UTS Startups. What are UTS Startups? They are entrepreneurs inspiring and supporting entrepreneurs. I'm speaking collectively about our UTS Startups because that's the most important thing about what we do. We have an incredible team of people, but it's more about the collective and how we can make this collective do useful things to support the ecosystem. So we work with our UTS Startups to run a lot of different workshops, events, space activations, high school incursions. We're doing a lot more of that now, and other things to help people who aren't entrepreneurs to become entrepreneurs. It's literally tens of thousands of people that we help see what they can be. We work with our UTS Startups to motivate new members to continue what they start. So those kind of fledgling entrepreneurs who aren't quite sure about what they're doing yet to feel normal, to feel supported, to find people like themselves. We work with all the UTS Startups to share tips, skills, motivation, emotional support across the members. We work with our UTS Startups to leverage their networks, connect members to what they need, whether it's customers, talent, investors, researchers, etc. As I said before, we do have an incredible team, but as incredible as they are, I would trust 1,000 odd UTS Startups founders to provide a level of support to 1,000 other people that is a level above what we can do by ourselves. So we are kind of different to a normal kind of accelerator program in how we try to leverage that community. We're helping people start, we're helping people continue, and helping people grow. And I'll point out quickly that it's kind of working. I've had 728 UTS Startups started in the last 3 years, 380 that are active today, 401 paid jobs in those startups created in the last year alone. I love this one, 2,200 UTS students working with those startups over the last year. So out of the 45,000 students that we have, 2,000 students working with startups in 1 year alone, I think it's incredible. And I'm excited to be contributing to the activity of Techcentral. We're not charging for what we do or the space that we provide. We've got 180 desks of space and more on the way. If you remember the old Fishburners building on Harris Street, that's one of the buildings that we have, and the one next door and some more. We don't take equity. We don't want your IP. We just want to inspire and support new startups and ask every single one of those to help us inspire and support more startups. I'll end by saying I think all precincts are a sum of their parts, but a multiple of their parts when they're working well. And I'm excited for all the activity that's going to be brought together in this precinct and the multiplying effect that's going to have on our startups and on Australia's activity broadly. It's super exciting. So if you'd like to know more, there's search for UTS Startups, and we'll support you in any way we can.
Thanks, Murray. That's a really beautiful way of looking at it as well. Really great.
Thank you, Maxine.
Next up, we have Lynn Erkins, who's Business Development Lead at Sydney School of Entrepreneurship, another part of the Ultimo part of Techcentral. And then after Lynn will be Lucy.
Thank you, Maxine, and happy birthday to you, Murray. Hi, everyone. My name is Lynn Erkins. I'm the Business Development Lead at Sydney School of Entrepreneurship. Where is SSE? SSE is physically located on the TAFE Ultimo campus, so right at the heart of Techcentral, next to our friends at UTS and University of Sydney. Just for those that don't know what we do, SSE is a not-for-profit. We are established to develop T-shaped leaders and help individuals and organizations develop that entrepreneurial mindset and innovative thinking to really tackle the problems of society. Now, over the past year, we've worked with secondary schools. We think it is really important to get in there early to develop that entrepreneurial mindset, and even before those children go into tertiary education, we really want to help develop that pipeline of talent that goes into Techcentral. And now next to our work with secondary schools, we're really proud of our work integrated learning that cuts across all of SSC's programs. Just two quick case studies. We've worked with Western Sydney University in developing their startup internship program. And we worked with 3 local Western Sydney businesses and helped them really showcase their ability to innovate. And we created that program together with them for students to really have that real world experience working at a startup. How is that like? And building those transferable skills that we all talk to and find so important. Another quick case study is the City of Newcastle. We've developed a startup internship program with them as well. And we did that together with Hunter, so 3 local businesses from the Hunter, and we used their subject matter expertise to develop those programs and for them to really attract that local talent, that emerging talent. So we kind of work at that intersection of industry, government, education, and the wider community. So we love being part of Techcentral, and our aim is really to strengthen those industry linkages and making sure there's a continuous flow of young talent that goes into it with creative ideas and opportunities just into Precinct.
Thanks, Lucy. That's great. And yeah, I really loved you bringing up those points about the connections with Western Sydney and Newcastle and all these other locations, because I think that's a great conduit you've got there between Techcentral and the rest of New South Wales in particular. So yeah, and if you've never been in to check out Sydney School of Entrepreneurship, they've got beautiful offices there right in the heart of Ultimo. So once we're all allowed to go to places again, highly recommend going there for an event or something. Next up we have Lucy Buxton, who's the Industry Engagement Manager for UTS Climate Change Cluster. After Lucy, we'll have Isabelle from Haymarket HQ.
Thank you so much, Maxine, and thank you to all of the speakers. I've been learning and so inspired by what everyone is doing today. My name is Lucy Buxton. I'm the Industry Engagement Manager for the Climate Change Cluster, which is located at the University of Technology, Sydney. The Climate Change Cluster is a research institute, about 100 people. It was founded 11 years ago, and it's really driven by finding solutions that can help us as a population adapt or mitigate to climate change. So the Research Institute does that in a number of ways, but it really specializes in the development, particularly in the biotechnology space, of products, services, and technologies that can be used by businesses, by industry, by government to help us in this transition into our new paradigm. The Climate Change Cluster also hosts the Deep Green Biotech Hub funded by the New South Wales Government that is part of the New South Wales network of innovation hubs hosted at universities and CSIRO. So how can we participate in Techcentral, and why are we excited about joining? Well, I think the other speakers today have really touched on this. For us as a research institute, it's about creating, I think Chris said this earlier, those soft edges, which is a wonderful way to describe our mission and the way that we approach our work. We, as a research provider, partner with a number of different stakeholders, including academics, innovators, entrepreneurs, industry, government, and students, to help us all collectively develop the technology that we need and translate that into real-world solutions. We've got specialized facilities available at the university, not only through the Climate Change Cluster, but across our broader UTS network, that can help support entrepreneurs and innovators in their journeys, the development of products and services. And we also have a number of different ways that we help support through access, innovation, and education. Lastly, but not leastly, is our community engagement. And we, both at UTS, but also at the Climate Change Cluster, are very passionate about the translation of science and technology into community. And we really enjoy working in cross-functional teams with other groups and industries and community partners to be able to support that as a wider Techcentral precinct. So if you are an innovator, an entrepreneur that is interested in this intersect between technology, biotech, and climate solutions, it'd be great to hear from you. And I'm here to help support understanding and facilitation of relationships between our universities, the great outcomes of research and development, and our burgeoning entrepreneurship environment around Techcentral. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucy. And yeah, absolutely. Hopefully very exciting times ahead for climate technology in the coming decades. Next up, we have Isabel Lee, who's the Program Manager at Haymarket HQ. And then after Isabelle, we're moving on to Everly, and we'll have Blair from Carriageworks.
Great, thanks for having me. Firstly, a big shout out to SparkFest, Maxine and the team, and to every other person here who has spoken. So my name is Isabelle and I'm from Haymarket HQ. And over the past couple of years, I've had the privilege of working with an awesome team wearing a bunch of different hats, as you do when you work with startups. So for those of you who don't know Haymarket HQ, we help support tech companies to grow into global markets, whether it's a startup or an ASX listed enterprise. So we do this through our virtual business programs, and we work together with governments, corporates, and our network of partners and investors all over the world to help companies grow into markets such as Vietnam, Singapore, and beyond. And of course, we also work the other way. So we also help a lot of international companies grow into Australia. So to date, we've supported over 700 companies, and we've worked and we've also received funding from the New South Wales Government, Austrade, City of Sydney, Alibaba, KPMG, and a whole bunch more. Something that people don't know about us is that we're actually quite active in the NFT space. So if you happen to catch SparkFest's Aussie Accelerator massive reverse pitch last week, you would have gotten a sneak peek of our latest developments. So we've just set up Australia's first NFT accelerator. And this is designed to help more creators understand, well, what is this NFT thing that everyone's talking about these days, how to create them themselves, and most importantly, how can they make money off of it? So it hasn't launched just yet. It's a little bit secretive, but if you'd like to learn more, please feel free to reach out to me. And of course, how could I forget? We've also got our own co-working space based in the heart of Chinatown. So we're right along Dixon Street, sandwiched between Central and Town Hall. So if you're ever in the area, please come drop by and say hi. We've got a great community here, and not to boast, but I do think we've got the best food options around. So there's that. When it comes to Techcentral, we are super excited. I think for HHQ, it's always been about driving tech innovation in Sydney, really driving Sydney's narrative to become a global tech hub. For us, Techcentral represents new opportunities for Haymarket HQ to help support the next generation of companies. And I think, as always, Sydney's always got this wonderfully diverse and multicultural talent pool. And I think being able to bring them all together is really going to ignite something special, both for Sydney and for Sydney on a global scale as well. So if anything I've said today sort of hit a nerve or resonated with you, whether it's programs, whether it's program support or office space, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to have a chat, and you can find us on Dixon Street.
Thanks, Isabel. That's awesome. And I can definitely see some alignments there between yourselves and the Powerhouse Museum with the NFT focus. You guys
for sure.
Be talking. Next up, we have Blair French, who's the CEO of Carriageworks. And after Blair, we have Ingrid from Cicada. Take it away, Blair.
Thank you, Maxine. Thank you for inviting me to take part in this. So my name's Blair French. I'm the CEO at Carriageworks. So Carriageworks is a large-scale multi-arts precinct situated in North Everly, so it's situated within that slightly larger precinct. We've been here almost 15 years in buildings that have been here well over 130 years. And I think importantly for the way in which we think about our practices going forward, on a site in which cultural and community practice has taken place for tens of thousands of years. We run programs, develop and run programs with artists in the areas of performance and theatre and music and dance and visual art, with an overlay of First Nations programming, which is a very strong focus over our last decade and going forward. in learning, and we run learning programs out in Western Sydney as well as part of our Solid Ground program. In development of public space and public domain work, so public art on South Havillah precinct and other areas. We work, and a lot of our work is really about collaboration. So we're home to 7 resident companies, so companies that are kind of key small to medium performance companies here in New South Wales, and with a range of event partners. And many of you may have visited Carriageworks through one of those events, whether it be Australian Fashion Week or Sydney Contemporary Art Fair, Semi-Permanent Design Festival. So these major event partners in the areas of performance and food and fashion, design, etc., and art, I think are one of the key means by which we operate as an organisation that connects the most current practices and ideas through the lens of artists' work and creators' work to a wide public. And that's really, I think, one of our key kind of purposes. As an organisation that had welcomed up to 1 million people a year on site in the years leading up to COVID, and was very much predicated on the gathering together of people and the exchange of ideas through art, COVID obviously was a bit of a shock to us, where we can't actually gather people physically together. And it has really resulted in us rethinking some of our functionality, but also some of our purpose. And it's a process we're going through at the moment. And we've branched out and rethought how we work with other areas of creativity. And we've particularly been working a lot with film and television industries, sort of, if you like, behind the closed doors that have been caused by COVID. And we want, as we reopen to the public, we will be rethinking and integrating some of this work that we've been able to do over the last couple of years. The place, and we'll be reopening on the 3rd of November, by the way, so next week, everybody, please come back in on site. I think one of the key things in thinking about Techcentral and our location is just thinking about our fundamental role with artists. We have artists working on site all the time, artists in residency programs, artist development programs. Now, and artists for me are amongst the first, most original innovators. And it's really only, since the Enlightenment that we've operated within cultural spheres that have separated art, science, and technology, certainly within Western framework. And in the last few decades, we've started, again, within Western frameworks, to question that. And I think now is the moment where artists bring a very particular focus of creativity onto the work of others in innovation spheres. And for us to actually be based in a precinct that will allow us to make those connections, face-to-face connections, on-site connections within creative spaces that then open out into the public, is the value for us in being part of Techcentral. And the excitement for us in the Techcentral model, but also in the new models for North Havillah and the developments that are taking place around us. So we look forward to welcoming you on site for some of that activity soon.
Yeah, can't wait. Will the growers market be starting next? Is that
the market has been operating all the way through this current lockdown. We have managed to come up with safe management protocols that have been ticked off by the powers that be, and we've managed to keep that going because those growers, those producers are important contributors to our local community, and also important economic contributors to their communities around New South Wales. So that's been really important to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, especially for that vision about incorporating art and tech working together. Can't wait to see what might come from that in the coming years. Next up, we have Ingrid Marsh, who's the Director of Sales and Partnerships at Cicada Innovations. And after Ingrid will be Vicky.
Thanks very much, Maxine. So I'm Ingrid Marsh from Cicada Innovations, which is the home of deep tech in Australia. Our mission is to make Australia a leader in innovation while developing advanced science and engineering that will create a more sustainable and prosperous future. We're an independent, for-purpose business set up by our founders, University of Sydney, UNSW, UTS and ANU. We're Australia's most established incubator, and for over 20 years we've been supporting the most ambitious deep tech ventures focused on the world's most pressing and promising opportunities by commercialising ventures that are underpinned by scientific and engineering innovation. Commercialising deep tech is often a long journey. It often takes 7 to 10 years, and sometimes even longer to start to scale. To support this, Cicada offers long-term, low-cost office space, a community of deep tech entrepreneurs, commercialisation services, and activities to strengthen the deep tech ecosystem. In terms of what we're up to right now, Cicada's the delivery partner for the New South Wales Government's National Space Industry Hub, which will officially open its doors in the next couple of months. It's founded on world-class research, innovation, collaboration, and commercialisation. And the Space Hub will offer a physical space, commercialisation training, mentoring, and connections for space ventures and researchers in Australia. We're also delivering programs for New South Wales Health and for MTP Connect nationally to support the medtech community. And looking forward, we want to do this across other deep tech enabled sectors, including ag tech and space. We're also working with industry partners such as the Biennale of Sydney and CSL, who are looking to fast track the innovation process by tapping into the experience and expertise of our deep tech community. In terms of where we are, we're based in South Havillah. I'm in the office right now and you can see our building behind me. We're in 9,000 square metre building with about 6,000 square metres of affordable space for deep tech ventures. This includes suites, lab space, prototyping facilities, meeting and seminar rooms, and event spaces. And we're home to 46 deep tech ventures, including Q-Control, Gelion, SpeedX, Regrow, and Prescient, to name a few. Cicada has been part of Techcentral for 21 years. During this time, we've provided incubation support to over 300 startups that have raised over 900 million and created 1.2 billion from 6 exits and created thousands of jobs. The development of Techcentral is putting a fantastic spotlight on the amazing work already taking place here and creating an opportunity to turbocharge our collective efforts. And I look forward to working with all the other speakers in progressing that. So look, Cicada is always on the lookout for the best and brightest deep tech ventures to become residents. So if you're listening and that sounds like you, please get in touch. Thank you.
Thanks, Ingrid. Yeah, love your work down at Cicada, and it'll be great to get down to South Havillah again and see what's happening down there. I'm sure there's been a lot of changes in the last, it's actually 2 years since we had a closing party down there at Spark Festival. So
there is a lot of activity and change happening down here.
Totally, look forward to it. So next up, we have our second last speaker for today, and that's Vicky Taylor, who's the Adjunct Associate Professor and Executive Director at Sydney Research. After Vicky, we'll have our final speaker, who is Rupal from Sydney Knowledge Hub. But take it away, Vicky.
Thanks so much, Maxine. Firstly, I'd like to send apologies on behalf of Dr. Teresa Anderson, who's the Chief Executive of the Local Health District. Teresa has unfortunately been pulled away to work on the booster vaccination program. So otherwise she would have loved to have been here with you. On behalf of Teresa and all of the staff here, we certainly feel very privileged and very excited about being part of Techcentral. We probably are the golden oldies, I guess, of the precinct, in that ourselves and Sydney University have 140 plus years strong history of working together and being located within the precinct. We're on the western end of the precinct. The local health district's made up of 4 major hospitals, so RPA, Canterbury, Balmain and Concord. And then we also have the dental hospital, which is down at Central Railway Station. We're very proud and privileged to deliver care to over 700,000 local residents in our local government areas. But on any given day, and pre-COVID, we were actually also providing care to up to 1 million employees and people that travelled into the city for work each and every day. Obviously, we've been extremely busy during COVID. keeping our community safe and working with many of you and many young entrepreneurs and innovators. And we've been very fortunate, although COVID's kept us very busy maintaining the health and well-being of our communities, we've also had the opportunity to continue our research, our innovation, clinical trials. We've actually successfully launched a number of innovative programs during the pandemic and COVID, one of them being RPA Virtual, which is the first virtual hospital ever in Australia, and it's treated thousands and thousands of patients during COVID, and in fact kept them out of hospital whilst we were able, through technology, to provide care in their homes rather than them coming in and overloading our already very busy facilities. We also worked very closely with a number of government agencies and companies in providing special health accommodation for returning travellers or members of our community that were not able to isolate or care for themselves at home. We also are very proud of the fact that during the pandemic, again, due to innovation and our hardworking staff, we were able to set up in 20 working days the mass vaccination hub at Homebush. And that was reliant not only on our staff, but technology and skills there. At the moment, the exciting things underway across our precinct and with the University of Sydney is that we're finalising a business case to go to New South Wales Government, and that's to continue to plan and then build what we're calling the Sydney Biomedic Accelerator complex. And it will be a series of buildings that are interconnected that we're very hopeful will work with many of your businesses and young innovators and entrepreneurs as we all work together on health, innovation and commercialisation. Techcentral to us is extremely important, and as I said at the outset, we're very, very proud and feel very privileged to be part of it. We're probably one of the major anchor tenants in that we employ 13,000 amazing staff. They range from cleaners and domestic and support staff who are very, very important to the work that we carry out, through to clinical, allied health professionals, and then, of course, researchers and innovators. So, yeah, again, on behalf of Teresa, thank you so much for inviting us to join with all of you today. And I have to say, I absolutely loved your story, Matt. And it was really resonating with me about the opportunity for us to perhaps outside of this connect with you, because there are many services we provide to people in the community who are experiencing what you shared with us that you've experienced with your family members. And I think there are many things that we could look at doing with you. So thank you very much for being invited to join. And we look forward to a long, industrious and positive collaboration with all of you as we all collectively launch Techcentral and continue to grow it to become the place to be within not just New South Wales, but Australia. So thank you.
Yeah, totally agree. Thanks, Vicky. And I will definitely make that connection between yourself and Matt. That would be amazing.
Thanks so much.
Next up, we have our final speaker for our final Spark Festival event, which thank you so much, Ripple. You've actually spoken a couple of times at my events, and it's always been fantastic to see you. But yes, so our final speaker for today is Ripple Isman, who is the Director of Sydney Knowledge Hub at Sydney Uni.
Anything for you, Maxine. So hi, everybody. Thank you for staying. It's great to see so many faces that I know that are residents of Techcentral that have spoken today, and also in the folks that have tuned in. You know, I recently saw the startup genome ranking for connectivity, and Sydney ranks really high. And I personally feel that by how many people kind of I already know within Techcentral and beyond. So I think Techcentral is fantastic because it'll only bolster this creativity and connectivity, particularly with the diversity of the types of businesses, the residents that are here. So, you know, we have educators, arts institutions, technology, funding, healthcare, really exciting. So I'm Ripple Isman. I'm the director of the Sydney Knowledge Hub, as Maxine mentioned. We are fully within the University of Sydney. We aim to be a friendly face, essentially, to handhold startups and SMEs to basically figure out who they want to work with within the University of Sydney, which can be a bit faceless to navigate, particularly if you don't have a pre-existing connection. If you're looking to connect to the university, where we can reach out to me, we can help, or Sasha Whittle, our community manager, and we can help you kind of navigate to the right resources. We're also a space for research commercialization within the University of Sydney. There's so much talk about how to help researchers deliver impact, drive impact from their work. And one really critical way to do that is through research commercialization. We're located on campus. We're about a 10-minute walk from directly west from Redfern Station on Buxton and City Road. And we help startups collaborate with the university. I'm looking forward to kind of being part of Techcentral so that we kind of, I'd love to help more residents within Techcentral connect to the university. So we can help you with, one, working with our researchers. So if you don't know where to start, we can help you navigate to the right researcher at the university. We can also help you find funding. There's a lot of funding, state and federal funding, to be leveraged to be working with the university. So right now, for instance, New South Wales extended their tech voucher program. Essentially, that's matched funding for you to work with the University of Sydney. Two, we can help you with student work placements. We're always looking for really cool companies to for our students to interact with and engage with, particularly our engineers. So if you're looking to hire an intern, or you have a really interesting project that you think a team of students might love to tackle, we can help you find them. Finally, we can help you with help startups and SMEs connect to our core research facilities. So these are the University of Sydney's high-end research infrastructure. These aren't lab spaces that you can rent, but we do have facilities like our Sydney Informatics Hub, which is all things data, data visualization. You can have access to our supercomputer. We have our mass spectrometry and analytical services for chemicals, biological matter. And then we also have our latest core research facility that have opened up is the Sydney Manufacturing Hub, which is our newest additive manufacturing facility, world class, I think, maybe amongst the best in the world for additive manufacturing for metals and ceramics and polymers, so these difficult materials to work with in other facilities. Finally, we run a co-working space in the space that I mentioned. So on campus, it's a co-working space that has about 22 organizations. Half of those are early stage businesses from current researchers at the University of Sydney. And the other half are organizations that are collaborating with researchers or our core research facilities. So we're super excited to be part of Techcentral, and I think the flow of ideas and people outside the university for our researchers to kind of get more connected to people outside the university will greatly benefit our researchers, and hopefully they'll meet more entrepreneurial co-founders that can help bring their inventions to market. Thank you.
Thank you so much, RuPaul, and thank you so much for all the connections you've helped me make at Spark into Sydney University as well. So that's it for Meet the People of Techcentral today. I think we've made some inroads and some connections here amongst all the presenters, definitely, and hopefully out there amongst the audience as well, things are a little bit clearer. Basically, watch this space because there will be big announcements coming up in the coming months, and hopefully there'll be opportunities to actually get down to Techcentral and check out some events there and some spaces and to start making some real connections. But yeah, I think 2022 will be an exciting year for all of us, and I'm looking forward to getting to know everyone who was on this call better as time goes on. So thank you very much. If you've got time, check into some final Spark Festival events this evening. But apart from that, I'll see you around. Get out there and enjoy that beautiful day that's happening in Sydney right now. Thanks for tuning in.